4月22號，陳光誠從受到嚴密監控嘅山東屋企係逃脫，響網友嘅協助底下抵達北京。4月26號，陳光誠進入咗美國大使館，美國高級官員隨即同中國官員進行磋商，希望留響中國嘅前提底下，中國同意陳光誠一家移居外地就學，並且係承諾保障佢嘅安全。5月2號，陳光誠響美國駐華大使駱家輝嘅陪同底下離開美國使館，進入北京朝陽醫院，並且同屋企人團聚。但係陳光誠佢擔心自己同家人嘅安全，希望前往美國。另外，中國媒體首次發佈咗陳光誠嘅消息，中國官方批評美國干預內政，要求美國道歉。
美方的做法是對中國內政的干涉，中方絕不接受。
峰迴路轉嘅陳光誠事件就此遭遇咗新嘅困難，而且美國國務卿希拉里已經係抵達北京，參加美中戰略與經濟對話。陳光誠事件使到呢個嘅會議籠罩陰影。陳光誠事件受到媒體嘅關注，美國民眾亦都相當關心。
Where did you hear about this?
Well, I heard about it in the news, USA Today, and saw a picture of the paper.
Where did you hear that story?
I'm a fervent listener of MSNBC, and I listen to liberal talk radio. So the aspect of the gentleman in China being not taken, but escaping is wonderful. I hope he's in our embassy, and I'm hoping that he has safe travels wherever he goes.
So which part of the story that interests you?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's an unlikely story, and secondly, I'm actually interested in the forced abortions issue. I think it's a pretty horrible human rights violation. And diplomatically, of course, it's interesting because American relations with China are sort of, in an interesting place at the moment. So that's what I found interesting about it.
So what part of the story that you find is most interesting?
Well, it's not interesting. It's in fact it's one individual. It's sort of like the fellow at Tiananmen Square. There was a big there's lots happening, but we zero in on when we see a face. There's a face put to the cause. And so in Tiananmen Square, we don't know who the fellow's name was, but everybody has that image burned in our memory. That one man standing in front of the tank. And so, much the same way, this is one man standing up to a government, which is, very powerful.
Yes.
What do you think Washington should do?
Washington should stay the course in regards to keeping him safe. I think if he is released back to the Chinese, that it could be extremely dangerous for him.
Well, I support what he's doing, but the United States needs to learn that foreign policy, we need to stay out of other people's business. That's gotten us in too many wars.
That's what the American embassies around the world are for. It's a haven for people to go to.
Instead of handling things abroad, fix things here at home.
It's very possible the Chinese government would claim that this is internal affairs, that the United States government should not be part of this.
Goodness gracious. Well, then you have to say, are they really becoming a democracy, or is it still a hard communist nation? Obviously, the leadership is still a hard communist nation, but they went very heavily for market-based economics, and it's very difficult to have both. A communist nation and a market-dominated society. So maybe things will change in the future.
So what do you think this government should do?
This government? Well, right now, I don't get too political, but this government has a fairly weak foreign policy. That is, they're not. We have the power of righteousness behind us, and in fact, we don't use it. Though we don't want to meddle in another country's internal affairs, but when you start talking about what's happening, in China or what's happening in Syria, we're sort of standing there with our hands by our sides. In fact, we could be doing a little bit more. So we just coming back from the Library of Congress and talking about our revolution and people wanting to be free. I mean, that's ultimately everybody wants that. And so and so we see a person like that that harkens back to the days when we wanted to be free, and now we are, and we want to share the wealth.
Can this country afford to take care of all the countries in the world?
No, it's not so much, no. We can't be a policeman, but we lead by example and so forth. But we have extensive amount of influence, right? Financial, trade, whatever, and you can, I think what's happened is we don't want to hurt the relationship between China and the United States because of, well, what do they have? $4 trillion of our debt. So that so we don't want to hurt that relationship, but you still have to be grown-ups about it.
People are speculating because they're afraid the Obama administration might compromise a little bit not to, because they don't want to damage the relationship between the United States and China.
I'm hoping that Mr. Obama does not compromise at this point. We have compromised with China for many years and have allowed China to take probably more of our jobs than I would like them to take, no offense to China. But I would say that I'm hoping that Mr. Obama does stay the course.
So what do you hope that the American government will do?
Well, obviously, the human in me thinks that it would be terrible to have him turned back over, because clearly he's going to be incarcerated again, and who knows what will happen to his family. But obviously, diplomatically, it's really hard to say, if we accept one, what about everybody else who's, being abused by foreign governments? So, hard to say.
Relations with China are important and sensitive, and so I can see where this presents a problem for the government. So I don't quite know how that would be resolved.
Right.
And,